Welcome back to From the Bench, everybody. As always, I'm your host, Eric, and with me is my co-host, Trevor.
We're shaking.
There you go. We're back. We're excited. We had the entry draft, or the expansion draft that just happened last night. Would have been nice if, people hadn't ruined all that, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Just wanted to touch base a little bit. Trevor, tell the folks what you've been up to.
I've just been watching the flow just multiply here. Just living the dream, still building that ramp to Neverland. I like to call it Riverview.
Yeah.
On the Riverview side. So yeah, enjoying the weather and some wings with some good company the other night.
There we go.
Last night. But yeah, just living the dream, buddy. Somebody's.
Hey, a dream's a dream.
What have you been up to, Haas?
Work as always. Actually had to get my shoulder checked out because I'm 33 years old and my right shoulder kills me all the time. Thanks to car accidents and thanks to sports and thanks to running heavy equipment and everything else over the years. Before I became a lazy realtor that just sits in his car and looks at his phone all day, my right shoulder is messed up. So I went to go see a chiropractor guy. He checked it all out. It was weird. I could put my arm behind my back and it's something weird, but like I couldn't push back. Like when I went to see him like 2 weeks ago, the most weird feeling in the world when you try to put your arm in a way, you're like, hey, yeah, my arm behind my back, I can move my left one like that, push backwards. Went to do it with my right one and just had absolutely nothing. It was the weirdest feeling in the world, but it's always pain, so I'm starting to go through physio and stuff for that. Had some electroshock therapy. They had like this like gun thing they went. They zapped it a bunch.
Gun thing, I like it.
Did like a 1,000 shocks per spot or whatever. So it was good. It was a good time. But now I'm all like bruised. Now I'm all like bruised and stuff because they do that all that stuff. But
they're manly bruises.
They are manly bruises. They hurt like a mother.
Whatever that means. I don't know for all you female listeners out there. I don't know what that means.
First thing too, since our last episode, I have to say, rest in peace to Matias Kivirlinx, young goaltender. He's a prospect of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
It was a beauty.
Terrible 4th of July fireworks accident. Apparently saved everybody else that was there by kind of jumping in front of it. Just not what you expect. I know as a guy that collects cards and stuff, he was actually one of the Young Guns cards from this year, and you'd always see him, and it was one of those things. He's not like a high-end prospect, right? He's not a Carter Hart or any of these guys, but it's sad to see someone that was just getting his NHL career. He'd done AHL stuff, done NHL stuff, but it's just sad to see somebody like that. All of a sudden, he's like, nope, no longer here.
Somebody who was just starting to live life.
Yeah, just at that age that it's like, okay, this is gonna make sense. So like I said, it's been a while since, and hopefully it never happens again that we have a young player like that passes, unfortunately, especially in such a terrible way. But rest in peace to him. We are going to get into it, though. So we got signings. And with this first signing, we were going to talk about, we got one Mr. Brandon Carlo of the Boston Bruins. You got a defenseman there. 6 years, $24.6 million. This is the guy they signed, obviously, they kept him around instead of Torrey Krug.
Younger.
Kept him around for all these reasons, right? They've shipped other guys out. And they're kind of trying to keep that, team together. And Brandon Carlo is one of those guys. And I just want to see, obviously you're a Leafs fan, so you've kind of watched the Bruins over the year. Trevor, what do you think about the guy?
Way too much. He's actually a pretty good defenseman. I think he took a big step forward this year because he got the increase, like you said, Krug leaving, going to St. Louis. So he got the increased ice time, and he just flourished. Look at that word. What a beauty.
Trevor playing.
Anyways, yeah, man, I'm telling you, just full of the energy tonight. Bring in the heat. I know it's early in the episode. We just ended. Yeah. But, I just think he flourished in all situations this year. He's a good puck-moving defenseman. He's mobile. He's a pretty good defenseman all around.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially
he got some power play time.
You need some of those young guys, right, to kind of step up for you like that, too, and to see him, what he's able to bring.
That they need the opportunity.
They do.
I feel like he got it this year, right?
Yeah, well, that's what happens, right? When you thin out some, nobody wants to see their favorite players go, right? Nobody wants to see a Torrey Krug go. Nobody wants to see all these guys go. Me as an Avalanche fan, right?
That's how you get out of you don't get in cap trouble.
Well, that's
right?
it, right? I loved Tyson Barrie. I thought Tyson Barrie was really underrated. People talk about all the time. The guy puts up 50, 60 points as a defenseman every year. Some people still don't like him because he's a liability on the back end a little bit. Yeah, that will happen. Obviously, when you're that good on the offensive end, you're probably not going to be amazing at both. But obviously, even him, we let him go because we knew, look, coming up, we're going to pay Cale Makar, right? Moving on, though, to a guy that is going to kind of set that standard for one Mr. Cale Makar that I root for, and that is Mr. Miro Heiskanen for the Dallas Stars. He signs an 8-year, $67.6 million contract. That is 8.5 AAV. Kid is super young. We're talking, he's 20, was he 21? Yeah, 22, sorry. He's 22 years old.
You're close.
He's just so good. I know when they talked about him last year, obviously they had that Great Big Cup run. He played really well in all those games.
He did.
It kind of talked, his coach was talking, look, this guy's probably going to be a future Norris candidate. That's how good he is, right? Now, obviously, a lot of things went bad for Dallas this year. The goaltending issues. Tyler Seguin played like the last week of the season. Talking about a lot of that kind of stuff. It just wasn't their season. Jason Robertson was like the lone, high point for them, highlight for them. And then Heiskanen, just, obviously they said they still just think very highly of him. 22 years old. What more can you ask for a guy like that? So it's exciting for him. His birthday would have been 2 days ago. It's July 18th. That's why he's 22 now. I would have had it right had we recorded this a couple days ago. But no, so yeah,
Ooh,
big contract, $8.5 million essentially, and that's what you see nowadays. All these young superstars, Trevor. It's
Don't tell me about it.
Trevor knows all about it. Obviously, as a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Obviously, I know about it as a Colorado Avalanche fan because of, Rantanen. Now I'm hoping, Makar, we talk about it all the time, the big, the interview that Nathan McCann had with Spit and Chicklets where he says, taking less, in someone like his position, being up for $6 million. Obviously, Nate didn't take that because he was amazing and where he was now. He took that because of a little bridge deal. But, taking less only works if everyone does it, right? If everyone buys in, that's a big Sidney Crosby thing, right? And it's one of those things if, hopefully for Colorado's sake, hopefully Makar doesn't ask for 10 or 9.5. Hopefully he stays at least around this 8.5. Hopefully maybe even less. Maybe he goes for 8. That'd be amazing, but probably not, right? They're probably going to try to set the standard with him and with what he's going to make. But here's to hoping, he's another guy, 22 years old, just went up for the Norris. If he had played more games, he probably would have won the Norris. He was up for the Norris with missing 12 games. So, it is what it is. One of the ones here, I didn't even switch that. One of the ones here, there we go. I had a picture of Miro Heiskanen put up and everything. One of the people I didn't talk about, though, was with Boston. And it just came out today. Taylor Hall signs a 4-year, $24 million a year, or $24 million contract. That is $6 million a year. Just came out today for Taylor Hall to stay in Boston. Kind of works out for him too, right? He gets to play that second line thing. He's not the superstar on that team. Maybe that's what he wants, right? Maybe
more depth.
He doesn't want to be that guy. And
the top guy.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, and he understands, I think, like, look, I'm not a top guy in the league, right? Like, it's just, he may never be it.
He's a Robin the Batman.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's another big one. But Miro Heiskanen, I think, for a young defenseman, great signing over there in Dallas, and good to see they got it. There's talks about, just put out there real quick, talk about Seth Jones going to Dallas, and that they trade a bunch of guys, maybe in Klingberg and everything else.
I wouldn't.
Who knows, right? Seth Jones is a monster, but put him with Heiskanen, that'd be crazy. Also talking about him going to Chicago with a bunch of stuff going back. It's pretty crazy to think, but who could go where and everything else. Another one we had, before I forget about this one, it's one Mr. Nick Leddy. He gets signed. Where is it here? Contract. Bam.
Detroit, didn't he?
Yeah, so he went to Detroit and signed
and they
a 7-year. Did I have this right? Oh, that was a trade. Sorry, that's a trade. That's a trade. No. I was gonna. So get away from the signings. Yeah. Sorry, that was getting away from the signings. I'm getting ahead of here. ahead of myself here, but Nick Leddy, he gets traded to Detroit for Richard Panik and a fourth, I think. Give me a second here.
It was a draft pick, I know for sure.
It was a draft pick. A second round draft pick. So Richard Panik and a second round draft pick for Nick Leddy. Nick Leddy obviously making $5.5 million. I don't think that's. I think they decided with the Islanders. Look, we have enough good young defensemen. Nick Leddy was kind of part of that older crop that they had there, right? It was him. It was Travis Hamonic. It was all those kind of guys.
He kind of started it when they started to turn around. He was part of it.
Because that's when they got Travis Hamonic, and that's when they got Nick Leddy and all these other guys, right? They said, look, we're gonna really buy in. We're gonna build up that blue line. Well, now they got Ryan Pulock. Now they got Adam Pellish. They got all these guys back there.
A couple guys that they grew naturally. Yeah.
So they're like, look, 5.5 for this vet, even though he's got an amazing beard, way better beard. Like, I got a decent beard. Trevor's got a decent beard. This guy
trimmed his.
This guy's got a thick and healthy beard too. So, no, I said it's just a solid player. It's Stevie Y doing Stevie Y things, man. He's so good.
You mean like today?
Oh my god!
Did you see that trade today?
Yeah. We'll get
third round pick.
Yeah, we'll get.
We'll get. Yeah, you'll talk about it later.
Well, no, here we'll get into it right now. Obviously, I don't have a graphic for it.
I can tell you it was a third round pick for 2021, so that's this year.
Yeah.
And they get in the rights to Bernier.
Yeah. Which who cares?
And then oh my god, yeah. And the best part was I just read before we went on the podcast that they asked him about it. He's like, you'd have to ask why Carolina did it or whatever. He like basically chirped them, which I loved. He's like, I have no idea, but anyway. So it was how do you say his name, Eric? The goaltender?
Alex Nedeljkovic.
Nedeljkovic, yeah.
Yeah, so he was up for like the Calder. Played obviously really well in the playoffs. Everyone's thinking, okay, this guy's going to be the future for Carolina. Nope, good try. So I guess they must. Maybe they're going back on Mrazek. Maybe that's the plan over there in Carolina.
Maybe they thought it was a fluke, but
yeah, right. And like I said, I think they like Peter Mrazek, right? And I think they thought because I think Nedeljkovic
and Rams just played really good for them this year too.
Yeah, and it was one of those things. It was Nedeljkovic was going to want a new contract. He probably wanted to be the sole goaltender there, really. And like I said, they're probably like, look, you're gonna play with Mrazek over there in Carolina. You're gonna be splitting time. This one, he goes to Detroit. He can probably be the starter there, the sole guy by himself. And he signed a 2-year, $3 million AAV contract afterwards.
I love the fact that they still have they signed Thomas Bryce?
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? The old Islander goalie?
Yeah.
So I love that tandem, right? Like that's just another veteran for him to rely on too. I love that.
Yeah, just somebody you can you know who
Stevie Y. You hit it out of the park when you said Stevie Y doing Stevie Y things.
So smart.
You can start to see results like really good draft class last year for them. They kind of been screwed with where they're drafting the last couple of years, but I still think Stevie Y is doing a hell of a job.
Yeah.
They had a lot of bad contracts. Can we not agree?
Did they ever?
And Edmonton's starting to do that. Kenny Holland's starting to do that to Edmonton. So good luck with that.
We'll wait and see. Another trade, and like I said, this isn't stuff I have graphics for because I did these graphics a couple days ago. Me and Trevor got supposed to record an episode a few days ago. Didn't happen. Trevor had a guest show up late, our buddy Nick.
A beauty.
Absolute beauty.
Nick's a Leaf fan.
Oh, poor guy. But so he showed up on his 4-wheeler at Trevor's house right around the same time we were supposed to record. So Trevor's like, Nick wants to just shoot the shit for a bit. And I was like, well, we'll record another night. So anyways, here we are. So we're missing a couple graphics. I tried to get as many as possible. We've had a couple signings and a couple trades.
You were looking at a better flow tonight. People like, look at this. You can't. This is just beautiful.
This is my flow, people. This is a more tamed look here. You get
the old salt going on in the beard ski. Eric has yet to have any of that happen, but it's going to.
A little bit. Just giving you heads up. Another trade, and I don't have a graphic for it, is a big one going to Coyotes. This one's Shane Gosberg, Ghost Bear there from the Philadelphia Flyers. It's him, a second this year and a 7th this year, and nothing going back to Philly. It's just so they can get rid of his goddamn contract, which is crazy. Like here's this guy.
I like this trade, eh? I love it.
Yeah. Like they just thought. I think they thought like a couple years ago this guy's going to be the man, right? This guy's going to be the. Our
up
guy,
to Norris, like just a sick offensive player.
Yeah, this is gonna be the guy we're gonna rely on now from now until forever. Not the case. It's not a crazy contract. I know he was like terrible this year, I think he wasn't great the year before either, but it's only 4.5, so it's not a huge contract. But they're just like, look, we got to pay all these other guys. It's we got to get rid of him. Can't have him going. That contracts go for another 2 years, and they just said, look, that's enough for us. We can't take it on, and for a guy, especially where they're trying to compete right now, it's kind of hard, right? You got Kevin Hayes over there making $7 million a year. You got Claude Giroux. You got all these other young guys, right? Joel Farabee's going to want a contract.
JVR's making $7 a year.
Exactly. Yep. So you got all these guys that are making big contracts. It's hard to go back and forth with all that stuff. Another signing I forgot to mention. Mike Smith signed a 2-year, $2.2 million a year. So pretty good.
Not a huge fan of that.
I'm not a huge fan of it either. I think you're trying to.
Why not take a discount? Like, why not 1.5? Did he made $2 million? I think this year.
I think two's pretty low at the end of the day. To me, I think that's.
I know, but I'm just thinking, he's 39, I think, or 38.
Yeah, he's made his money.
So. For sure. So if you want to win, man, 1.5 or even he's made his money, like you said.
Yeah. Another trade, and this is
sticking. He didn't play good this year.
This is sticking with those same Edmonton Oilers. Duncan Keith gets traded for Caleb Jones, everyone's favorite Caleb Jones. Everyone knows Caleb Jones, right? Nope, don't know who that is. Caleb Jones from the Oilers, and a 3rd-round pick this year, and that's what they got. I don't know why you give up a 3rd-round pick. Why? I guess it's part of, maybe you're giving up some money because you're taking the salary cap hit of Duncan Keith too. So maybe
they're in trouble. They lost Larson today or yesterday. Was it Larson?
Yeah.
Is his name Larson? Adam Larson?
Adam Larson. I think
it is. Anyways, so they're kind of hoping not to lose him and add, but they did lose him.
Yep. But
he got a better contract. He's actually for less money than Duncan Keith.
Duncan Keith makes $5.5 million a year. He's got that for this year and next for another 2 years. He is 38 years old.
Still skates like a gazelle.
Yeah, still good, but still not as good as he was back in the day. But this is almost one where you'd almost think that Chicago would want to give, would almost have to. I don't know. A 3rd-round pick just seems like it's a lot of. I know we say it all the time.
You'd think if you give him a 3rd-round pick, this is just me, that they're retaining a couple million.
Nothing. Nope. Straight up trade. Everyone kind of said what?
I'd love to have Duncan Keith, especially in your bottom pairing.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
No, even in your bottom pairing. I think he's serviceable now.
No, I agree, but it is what it is. I just, to me, it was, and it's good. So he brings a winning culture, even though the Chicago hasn't won for a couple of years, but brings a winning culture, brings that veteran leadership, which they need, right? Guy that's been there before. I guess that's the other, saying that's the most typical saying in the world of sports. We got to bring a guy that's been there before. Usually it does not matter if you have a guy that's been there before. Let's be honest.
One guy does not make a whole team.
Unless he's a superstar, right? It's oh yeah, we got to bring in somebody because he's been there before. Yeah, great. You brought in Tom Brady. Yes. Well, Tom Brady's also Tom Brady. You also put him around a good team, right? Hockey, if you bring in a Mark Messier, well, if Mark Messier is by himself, he's still going to suck, right? It's one of those things. I understand what they're saying, but
put him on the Thrashers. Ask Ray Ferraro.
See how that goes for you, but it is what it is.
And the Kraken are not far from it. Oh man,
that is. I don't even know. We'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, so it's Duncan Keith. I don't know. Like I said, I talked to a guy who is a big Oilers fan, my buddy Adam, that does Moncton Wildcast podcast, and he's something about it. He's okay.
Optimistic, or was he okay? He's okay. Okay, he's good.
Okay, I guess at best. He's just the Mike Smith one. He's just shaking his head at all that other stuff, right? So
he didn't like it either.
No, not really. But that's just
not
another
that I mind it, but it's just I don't know. You just need to think ahead. So if he's good, let's say he's decent this year, right? He's set sharing the net like he did last year. Well, actually last year he was number one when he came back, but anyways, from injury. But I'm just saying it's kind of pricey next year, and there's no guarantee. I don't know. It's interesting.
It's interesting for sure. Like I said,
Kenny Holland, man. Sometimes I just wonder. Do you hear that? I sent you that. So I sent you. We're getting off topic, but So essentially that potential deal between them and Toronto or whatever.
Yep.
8 years at 5.5 the way Hyman plays, and I love Hyman.
Yep.
Not a good idea. Right? Can I say you're on my
I don't think that? I wouldn't pay that much for Hyman on like a 3-year contract. I wouldn't pay that for
5 or 6.
I wouldn't pay. No, I'm not paying that. Maybe $4 million a year.
Yeah, 4.5 at the most, and that's too much.
He's playing on the top line constantly. Yeah, he's got a couple points. Yeah, when you play with really good players, you're gonna get a couple. I could get 30 points with skating.
Just imagine he had a little more finish, just a little more.
But he doesn't. He's getting drug along by.
He's sick though.
Great. I'm not saying I like that kind of player.
He's good at what he does.
Yeah, I like that kind of player. That is Colorado. I love Logan O'Connor. I love all these other guys. He's rough and tumble. They go in for the forward check. They finish their checks. They're in the dirty air. I love that kind of hockey. I love it. Don't get me wrong. Right?
You don't win without that kind of hockey.
But I'm not paying that guy that much money. I'm not paying that guy crazy amounts. And then, like I said,
it's not how you win. You just can't win.
No. And then, like you said, does it be like we're gonna give that guy 7 years or 8 years at? What do you mean that style of hockey also takes a very big toll on your body? By the way, so all of a sudden now you're paying him
29, like you said. Or 27, or he's around there.
It doesn't matter what he is.
In between.
He's a guy that throws his body around, finishes every check. He's gonna get hurt. That's just what it's gonna happen.
Wow, the fucking potential is definitely there, especially in a long.
How many times do those guys last forever? Those high energy, high forecheck guys. How long it happens, right? Matt Calvert today just had to go retire for the Colorado Avalanche because he can't do it anymore because his body doesn't handle it anymore. Right? Like it's Kenny Holland just throwing who else is competing?
And he's young.
Who else is gonna?
That's what I hate. That's the only thing I don't like about Kenny Holland. I think he gets a little like he did such a good job in Detroit all those years, right? But he he did frack them at the end of it. He fracked himself. You can't sign all these guys to long-term crazy deals, even for lower money, like $5 million and stuff. Yeah, it's a deal, but towards when the wheels fall off, you're stuck with 4 more years. That's not good.
No.
Ask Montreal, whoever.
Yeah.
Even though I think that will be on. Is that going to be on them or?
That'll be on LTIR. That won't count against.
No, but I mean, does that go back to the Preds because he signed that long deal? I wonder because it was a 12-year.
No, I don't think so.
I'm not sure. Remember though, fun fact about that deal. That was a deal signed technically or came up with by Philly, and they matched it. Remember, because they would have lost.
They had to. Why wouldn't you?
Fun fact, exactly.
I would have done it.
Exactly.
Moving on to the next one. This is another trade. This is actually including one Mr. This is the newest Toronto Maple Leaf legend, Jared McCann.
I don't even want to go there. I'm so mad right now.
What's your favorite Jared McCann moment of his career, Trevor, as a Toronto Maple Leaf?
I was so excited. So excited. And I'm like, only Toronto can fumble this.
In 2 weeks. Just trade for him.
I don't even want to.
Just trade for him in 2 weeks. Why are you trading for him before the expansion draft?
So, Toronto loses McCann.
Yep.
A first round.
No, it was
second round prospect.
Yeah, second round prospect.
He was a second round pick.
Philip Hollander.
Who they got for Kapanen, I believe.
Yep.
No.
Doesn't matter. Just pass.
I might be wrong. Doesn't matter. Okay. But he did come from exactly. Oh, so we gave around a prospect, and a 7th round draft pick
for nothing.
Good job.
For nothing.
Good job. Is that? I just want to say, that Cliff Fletcher still in the office?
Why are you making a trade for a player that you're gonna not protect before the expansion draft? Just trade with them in 2 weeks.
Ironically, he's one of their best forwards, if not one. I'm not gonna retract that statement. He's probably one of their best forwards. He's
probably gonna be in the top 6, right?
He's definitely probably gonna be top line center.
Why is the Toronto Maple Leafs are you making that trade to not protect him? I just don't understand it. Just either make that trade. Like I said, if I understand if you're bringing in Duncan Keith, you plan on protect him. Perfect. If you're trading for any of the other guys I said, or any of that other stuff, the Nick Leddy's, the whoever, if you're going to plan on signing these guys and keeping them and protecting them, then it makes sense. But if you're not going to protect
Leddy's underrated though,
then just go and trade for that guy in a week or two when you don't have to worry about it. You can then either make that trade with Pittsburgh if he's still in Pittsburgh, or you can then go and make the trade and trade for him from Seattle if he goes to Seattle. I just don't understand the point of doing it.
I'm not going to lie to you. I assumed there was a deal, or they knew that Kerfoot was going, or they knew not Kerfoot, but let's say they just knew who they were taking.
Yeah.
And apparently they didn't. So that's
because you throw in a random top 6 guy in, and it's going to be really good.
It's so random.
So
like, yeah, so not good.
It's only 25 years old, Jared McCann, just to rub a little
1.9.
Up for a super small contract. He had 14 goals and 18 assists and 43 regular season games.
He's a sick player.
So that's 32 points. Nothing crazy, but it's a good player. It's kind of what you want to see. And I said, he played in a bunch. Obviously, he got traded. He played games with Vancouver. He played games with Florida. Florida's kind of where he made his name. It was over there. And then obviously he goes to Pittsburgh. That was in, I can't remember who the trade was, but I always liked that. I always thought Jared McCann going to Pittsburgh made a lot of sense. It was a good trade.
And he was good there.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
When he played, when he was not hurt.
Yeah. He was the 24th overall pick back in 2014.
By Van.
Yeah, by Vancouver. So it's just another one. Like I said, once again, you just shake your head.
Yes.
I don't know. It is what it is.
You know what, though? Honestly, I'm not going to give Dubas too much shit. Like I told you, I think he's won most of his deals except for the deal with Colorado. That was wow. Well, I saw, honestly, my opinion is it was a brutal fail for us. But whatever. It is what it is. Bygones will be bygones, and we're moving on. And he's going to have to figure something out on the fly here this year in the offseason.
Yep.
So giddy up.
Giddy up is right, according to Trevor. Next one. So this one involves my Colorado Avalanche. This is Ryan Graves. He gets traded from the Colorado Avalanche to the New Jersey Devils. Colorado gets back one Mr. He's a forward. It's Mikhail Maltsev. There we go. Nailed it. And they got a second-round pick from New Jersey for that. Ryan Graves, they just signed him last year for a small contract. I think he's only making $3 million or $3.5 million, something smaller like that.
Something very good.
He's 26 years old. Hit two goals, 13 assists this year. He was also kind of put on that like second, third pairing this year a lot. Due to injuries, but Cale Makar, he played a lot of Devin Taves this year, so that's where Graves Graves led the league in plus minus 2 years ago. That's where he get a lot of his stuff, right? He's playing with Cale Makar. He's that more stay-at-home defenseman, doesn't have to worry about it, which is good. I like
him a thought, Carlson, right? Like that. Like you nailed it.
Yeah,
stay-at-home defenseman. That works well.
Yeah, and he said he's got a little bit of offensive upside, right? He can have a couple of things.
Oh, he's definitely not a plug. He's a player.
Exactly. Loves to shoot it at guys' shin pads though from the point. Loves it. Literally, it lost Colorado a series against Vegas. So.
Come on! They had lots of opportunity to win.
That's the Mark Stone one. He shot into Mark Stone's shin pads, gets it back, takes another shot, goes back into more shin pads, and then Mark Stone went off on a breakaway. It hurts.
Just let it go, bro. Let it go.
But I think it's like I said, it's one of those things. We have so many young guys. Connor Timmins, I think, playing really well this year, especially in the bubble. I think that really helped. Colorado decide, look. We have Ryan Graves, but obviously we're going to pay Cale Makar here this year. We got Sammy Girard, which he's on a good contract. We got Devin Taves, who's making a good chunk of money. But yeah, it's Ryan Graves makes $3.1 million. That's pretty simple, right? That's an easy contract. He's still young.
He's a beauty.
He got he's at long flow. I don't know if it's great flow, but he's got long flow.
Great flow.
So I know I said as a Colorado, I'll miss him. Like I said, he's a maritime boy, just like me and Trevor. So you're always gonna miss those guys. He's out of Nova Scotia, so not from we're from New Brunswick. We're better, but Trevor's no comment. Trevor went to University of Nova Scotia, so there we go. But yeah, so I said Ryan Graves. That's said it's a sad thing, but that's the world we live in, right? That's when you're talking about all these guys.
You're finally understanding what the Maple Leafs go through every year.
Yeah. Okay. We're trying to spend.
Fact.
We're trying to.
It all started last year with the trading of
Kadri,
another defenseman.
Oh.
For you guys.
Next one. So we have another trade. This is a three-way trade. Don't see a lot of three-way trades, but apparently
we got a trade to announce. You're gonna want to hear this.
Yeah, but unless you're dealing with the Nashville Predators, they love the three-way trades. So we have one Mr. Ryan Ellis. He is going to Philadelphia. So where Gosterberg just left, obviously he's going in. Then from Philly, we have Philip Myers and Nolan Patrick. They're going.
Speaking of New Brunswick, Mother Beepers.
Philip Myers out of Moncton, New Brunswick, right where we're from. So he's Philip Myers, a defenseman. Nolan Patrick, obviously former first overall pick. Nolan Patrick, who's obviously dealt with I think it was concussion stuff. He like some
second
big
overall. Second overall.
Oh, second overall. Sorry, yeah. That was
Oh, you almost had me for a minute. You almost had me.
That was a Heischer draft, wasn't it? I think so.
Yeah.
But he has, like I said, he's ran into a lot of issues, health issues, everything else, and just never really turned out to be the guy that they expected over there for the Philadelphia Flyers. So
this is what he needed.
So they said, look, we're going to give you a change of scenery. Exactly. Philip Myers kind of came onto the scene. Nobody saw it coming a couple years ago. It's great for him, though. It's just a good young kid. And then Cody Glass, first ever draft pick for the Vegas Golden Knights. He gets traded. He's going over to
Nashville.
Is he going to Nashville too?
Yeah, Nashville. They swapped Patrick for Vegas, right?
Oh,
That's how it worked. Vegas took Noah Patrick.
Yeah. That's what it was. Nashville receives defenseman Philip Myers and forward Noah Patrick, who was then traded for Vegas Golden Knights for Cody Glass. So everyone's
kind of disappointed in that. I wish that Cody Glass would have stayed in Vegas. He didn't really get much of a, you know what I mean?
It's hard, right? You're getting pushed down that lineup. You get all these other guys. You get William Karlsson. You get Pacioretty. You get Mark Stone. You get Marchessault. You get. I said just go down through that list of all the guys, and it's like.
But who doesn't want to go to Vegas? Like if you're Noah Patrick, well, who doesn't want to go to Nashville? Like I know they're kind of
an afterthought,
kind of crapped out lately. They're kind of a little bit of a mess right now, but. They used to be stacked. Like they were a beauty team. And plus it's Nashville. Who would want to live in Nashville?
Man,
come on.
Bunch of country boys.
I'd love to live there. Oh, buddy.
It's
just a beauty spot.
Nolan Patrick, he's got 70 points in almost 200 games. So definitely not what you expect from the second overall pick. He only had 1 goal and 1 assist in 6 playoff games. It's just, I said it.
Not good.
It's exciting time for Patrick. Like you said, he wanted to go. He's a fresh start. It's good for him. Cody Glass probably thinking the same thing. Philip Myers is probably like, I like Philly, but But he's going to Nashville.
In saying that, man, he's going to get a lot more opportunity there because he got traded for one of their top defensemen. So there's a good chance he can play with the Yoshi or in the top 4.
Yeah,
or Mark or like.
And that's it, right? He was going to lose some minutes because of Ryan Ellis, right, coming over there. So at least he gets.
And Philly does have a lot of young defensemen, so
yeah.
Just saying.
Exactly, and then so past that, so like I said, it's a weird trade. Like I said, it's a bunch of different parts, right? You get the veteran in Ryan Ellis, you got the young guy in Cody Glass right here. You got down a little bit farther on the screen here, down here, is one Mr. Nolan Patrick, like I said, kind of flamed out, kind of like Cody Glass, right? 2 guys that we kind of thought were going to be crazy. And then Philip Myers is that late blooming guy that all of a sudden comes out of nowhere. So it's a little bit of everybody, but it's kind of cool to see what they're able to do and what they're able to put together for a trade. And just hopefully it all works out. Like I said, we just want to see good trades. We don't ever want to see one team win a trade. Like I think it was a GM.
But I do like it. It's all young players. Well, I know Ellis
isn't. Yeah.
Had a lot of he's got a lot of games underneath his belt, but he's a sick defenseman. So
yeah. No, it's
one of my
I think it's pretty good. 1 second. Sorry, I need a Pepsi break, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't mean to break your ears there. But
mine's better.
Oh yeah, Trevor's got the Caesars over there. Ew, so gross.
Couple weeks. It's been like a month.
So gross.
I've been off the salsa, people.
Yeah.
For the most part, ask Eric.
For the most part, yes. Except for Wednesdays usually.
Yeah, I have 1 or 2 Wednesdays, and I've actually been really not even drinking on the weekends. Well, except for this weekend when I went biking, I had a couple. So if I would have said anything otherwise, I'm full of shit.
Exactly. Next one. So
moving on.
We're going to talk about, that's most of the trades. Like I said, I'm sure there's been a couple others in the last couple of days. To be honest, I don't want to go back and find them all, people. There's obviously...
No, those are the ones we wanted to talk to. If you don't like it, shove it up your hoop. We don't care.
Yeah, like there's some other stuff when it comes to all this. Like I said, I don't know if there's anybody else really. There's some retirements. Obviously, guys like Pecorine, he retired.
Good career, sick career.
Sick career. Never won the big game. That happens to a lot of people, right? You're in a weird.
Come close in the Stanley Cup Finals, but it happens. Yeah. Mike Fisher too, right?
Andrew Ladd, the Coyotes have somehow are just taking on all these really shitty contracts. They're taking on but they're also getting a bunch of draft capital at the same time. So they
had a whole, but they lost a bunch of draft.
I don't have a graphic for this one either, but Andrew Ladd gets traded to the Arizona Coyotes for a second-round draft pick this year, a second-round draft pick next year that's conditional, and a third-round draft pick in 2 years in 2023 that's also conditional. So, and they don't get anything back, the Islanders. They just said, look, you're going to take our contract. Perfect, great, awesome. It's weird. It's kind of different, obviously, but it's I said they're somehow taking on the cap space for now with Andrew Ladd and Shane Gosberg and kind of rolling with it. Next one. So this is a big one. This was going to kind of move away from the trades and people staying on teams. This one is a buyout, and it is the cornerstones of the new face, Minnesota Wild.
Oh, the two that signed together.
This is the big one. They had the press conference together. I think they signed the exact same contract at the time, didn't they?
Very close. Same years.
Yeah.
Very
same
close,
years,
though.
everything else. Mr. Zach Parise and Ryan Suter, which the Parise one I could understand because Parise essentially...
He's not a 30-goal scorer anymore?
No, he's not a 30-goal scorer, and he didn't play most of this year. Bill Guerin was like, get the heck off my team. Put him on the thing, right? So they bought out the remaining years of Zach Parise and Ryan Suter, 13-year, $98 million contracts. It's just wild. But that's the problem when you do these.
No pun intended.
Yeah, there we go. This is Zach Hyman. Zach Parise is Zach Hyman. He's the same player. They're that gritty.
Very similar.
Zach Parise's actually probably got more skill.
Go to the greasy areas.
Zach Parise's now 36.
Parise's got better mitts.
Sure. He signed that contract in 2012. So now we're 8 years into it. So this is the very end of it. It was a $13 million, $98 million contract, $7.5 million a year. He was still signed for another 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons. And he's been not good for a couple of years now. So they're like, we can't pay you $7.5 million for these huge contracts. And that's it.
I was shocked about Suter though. He was still
the Suter one kind of surprised me. I know he's a big contract. I know it's a big cap hit.
Why not one more year at least, right?
Yeah,
and it didn't even make sense that way.
To come out and say we're buying both of them out the exact same day after they signed the same day, way back when they were going to get that new look Minnesota Wild team to compete against everybody. It's just odd. Like I said, I think Ryan Suter's still like a top 4 defenseman. Like he's the 4th. He's not the 1st for sure, right?
Yeah, he's not what he was.
But even if he's the 3rd pairing, obviously that's not what you want to pay $7.5 million to. But it was kind of odd to me. I thought, and Ryan Suter's done so much for that franchise. He dialed in so many minutes.
And he's far from junk. He's far from spare parts. That's the whole point when you sign these guys to these contracts. When you draft well, guys are supposed to come in, get developed a little bit, and come and unlift the burden. You know what I mean? Let this guy slowly work his way down the depth chart to where he's just a support guy and been there, done that, and not the guy anymore. Yep. So
it's the same with Eric Johnson for Colorado, right? Is Eric Johnson worth the contract he was on? No, right? But if he was playing this year, they would have had him.
Far from shit, right?
No, exactly. That's the way Suter was, right? Like I think to me, it's the same kind of situation. I think you should have given Suter another year or two, but obviously he's not going to get to the end of that contract.
Agreed.
But I agree.
But another year or two, agreed.
You're just putting yourself in cap hell even more than what it is because you're just kicking that can.
And it's not like they're paying many guys.
No. We talked about it last episode. They signed Joel Eriksson Ek. But you're not paying a ton of guys down there. But you're also just kicking this debt down the road. It doesn't help you at all. Just take the bite for now. You're not competing for a Stanley Cup next year, Minnesota. I'm sorry to tell you. Take the bite for a Suter for another year, maybe 2. And then when you really think you're about to compete in a year or 2, when you kind of got more prospects and you're doing all this stuff, it makes more sense. I understand you got to pay Kirill Kaprizov. You're probably going to pay that guy $8-9 million a year. But it is what it is. So
he's worth it.
Yeah. Another one.
He was like must-see TV this year.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Another one. I couldn't bring myself to put a graphic up of it. It's my boy Keith Yandle, former Moncton Wildcat, just like this jersey back here behind me. Keith Yandle,
who got protected.
Yeah, there we go. He got bought out by the Carolina Hurricanes, or by the Carolina Hurricanes, by the Florida Panthers. Jeez Louise, Eric.
I gotcha.
So yeah, Keith Yandle, same thing. He was on a big contract. Obviously they had the thing at the start of the year. They talked about not playing the guy. This guy is on an Ironman streak. He's like the second most regular season games played continually in like NHL history. He hasn't missed a game in like 900 and some games.
And he's far from a plug. So like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like is he great? Is he great defensively? No, but is he a liability?
Better than half the guys you have?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So he was only up for another 2 years. He does make 6.3. So it's like, yes, you're not a super small contract, especially in a team that you got Aaron Ekblad, you got, Huberto, you got Barkov. You're obviously, if I was
the only bad contract on that team is the goaltender. Yes.
If you're gonna buy out anybody,
$2-3 million.
I'd be buying out Bobrovsky over buying out Keith Yandle.
He's only 2 years into it. You can't do it.
Just leave Keith Yandle unprotected. Get him to waive his no movement clause, and he can go to Seattle. Like, oh my, geez Louise. And maybe that's why they bought him out.
Don't even get me started on.
Maybe
Seattle.
he said like, I don't want to go to an expansion franchise, and that's why he said no. And maybe that's why they had to buy him out, because they didn't want to leave somebody else unprotected. But I don't know, man. It's like I said, hopefully he's going to get a new start somewhere else. He's on that Iron Man streak. Hopefully he goes somewheres. That was like one of my best clips of the whole season was, they talk this whole time before the start of the season that they're going to bench him for game one. And making him lose his Iron Man streak of so many consecutive regular season games. This is a guy that took a puck to the face and played the next game. Like, had all kinds of stitches, all kind of stuff fixed up, still played the next game. And then he goes out and doesn't he score a goal in the first game of the year? Just jacked up, loving it.
And I'm pretty sure he had an assist too. Like, yeah, he had a good one.
It's one of those things. Game. Like, I know, like everyone's different, and I know I always bring up Spit and Chicklets. It's because I love Spit and Chicklets, right? And it's because I love the way they talk to the boys, and I'd love to eventually get to that on this podcast where we have some interviews and stuff. We're not just talking about this stuff. I actually have a couple of guys that I might be able to get, like a guy, a nice guy that he's actually plays. He's going over to Europe to play. He's played down at Alabama, everything else. He's a great guy. And he actually knows Philip Myers. So maybe one day we might be able to get Philip Myers on here. So we'll have to wait and see. But no, it's one of those things. I'd love to get to that point. Just have the conversation with the boys. Shoot the shit. Enjoy it. And get to that point. But, having heard Keith on Spit and Chicklets so much, one of the best things about him was Keith is just like, I love it, man. And they're like, you're always so grateful. He's like, man, I'm so grateful to be in the NHL. I just love the boys. I love everything about it. And like it's just so wholesome and just so awesome to hear that somebody that has made this much money has played, in some of the biggest markets in all of sports, right? Played for the Rangers, everything else. Just the typical guy loves it. And he's like, I never take it for granted, man. I love the game. I love the league. I love being in the show. And just to hear the way he talks about it, it just makes you understand like, there's nothing that this guy loves more than playing hockey in the NHL, and it's the best. And it's one of those things I'll always appreciate about Keith Yandle.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so getting into it. So we're going to talk about a couple other things here. We're going to talk about some guys that were left unprotected. And what does that say about the teams? Now, this could be a couple things, right? This could be bad contracts. This could be people, maybe not worried because they're older, injured, everything else. Maybe there's contract issues. And then we'll get into the whole Seattle Kraken thing and the whole expansion draft. The first one, though, two guys that I wasn't expecting to see on the list was my boy, Matty Duchene, and Ryan Johansson. Both them left unprotected by the Nashville Predators. Obviously, both carrying big contracts.
Big contracts.
Big contracts, especially Matt Duchene just signs one.
With the years attached to them.
Yeah. Matt Duchene signs one, then has a terrible season. So it doesn't help that at all. Ryan Johansson, he's obviously had his issues. They trade. That was the big Seth Jones trade, right? They had too many defensemen. They trade Seth Jones out, who is
for the big center,
top 10. And then they said, look, we're going to get a big center. And Ryan Johansson's never really lived up to that yet. Obviously, they get Philip Forsberg over there and all these other guys. But it's a different league and different team. And they just said, look, we're going to leave these guys unprotected. For them, luckily, neither one of them was taken by Seattle. It's because all these guys, I got 5 guys on this list, all big names. Not one of them was taken by Seattle. Like I said, this episode was supposed to be before the expansion draft. And yeah, like I said, Matt Duchene, to me, I think he's still good. I don't know if it's just like a weird year, COVID year, everything else. New situation.
Hey, even the best player in the world, like, I'm just throwing it out there, can have a bad year. So, on Duchene's part, the numbers weren't there. Was he that great or that bad? Hard to say. But I like to say that Nashville's forwards as a group kind of shit the bed this year. Yeah, they rallied towards the end of it, and they made the playoffs and la-di-da-di-da, wherever that's worth. But let's be honest here. Nashville's forwards haven't been good for a couple of years here. So
nope. I think people trying to add stuff, right?
And Johansson's been horrible for at least 2 years.
Yeah, like I said, he's definitely not putting up the numbers that he should or what they thought he was going to put up, right? Like it's
like he's coasting.
Yeah, like he was never like the big rah guy. He's never been that way. He wasn't that way.
Well, he was never the big goal scorer, but he was always a big assist guy.
Yeah, and then they said so.
Big disser.
Looking up his stats real quick here. So he's got this year he only had 22 points in 48 games. And the year before he had 36 points. That's a drop from 64 and 54 and 61 the 3 years before. So like I said, still hasn't put up like the crazy numbers, especially like I said for the contract that guy makes. But like I said, it's one of those things. These kittens beside me, Trevor, I'm gonna
ridiculous.
They're literally climbing on everything, and that's what I had to jump down for to grab my phone because it was plugged in the wall over there, and they ran by.
I don't have that problem, buddy.
Pulled the phone out of my hand, off the desk, and onto the floor. Love them, but anyways, so yeah, no, that's so definitely not living up to what he's supposed to be, especially for that contract that he's making right now. Matt Duchene, same thing. They paid big money for Matt Duchene. I love Matt Duchene. I'm the biggest Matt Duchene defender probably out there other than his wife.
Do you have a card yet?
What? Oh, yeah.
You have a card yet?
Got the rookie card and the SPA signature, or the signed one. The autograph.
Badass.
What?
Badass.
Yeah, it's pretty
badass.
Good. So anyways, it's a big Matt Duchene guy. I love Matt Duchene forever. But even I have to admit, like, the guy had a terrible season.
Shouldn't have left Ottawa, man. He was killing it there.
Yeah. Or Columbus, but
yeah, true.
It is what it is, right? It's just hard, especially like when you get to Ottawa, he obviously is Colorado, and they talked about trading him forever because they were going to build around McKinnon and Landeskog and everything, right? So. It is what it is.
Fuck.
And then it goes over. Then he gets traded to Ottawa. Well, then Ottawa decides, well, we're going to do a rebuild. Okay, here we go. Trying to trade him out of there. Then he goes to Columbus. Well, do you want to stick around Columbus? Well, Panarin's leaving. Oh, well, Bobrovsky's leaving. Okay, so you're going to be the one guy left on Columbus? Probably
Seth Jones is leaving.
Yeah, Seth Jones may be leaving, right? Maybe he talked to Seth Jones in the offseason, and Seth Jones like, oh, look, man, I'm trying to get out of here in 2 years. And then so he goes over to Nashville, and then all of a sudden Nashville has their issues. So
that's funny, though, because a lot of players go back there to retire that played in Columbus. So it's kind of mind-boggling, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. So that's the first one. Like I said, that was kind of odd to me. Another one, sticking with my Colorado Avalanche and talking with them, Gabe Landeskog. Apparently him and Colorado are...
I fucking love it. Now you know what Leaf fans know, okay?
The Landeskog one just doesn't make sense to me because I always just thought he's
sense.
Yeah, but he can't think that he's worth...
But it comes down to him, bro.
He can't think that he's worth $9 or $10 million a year. That's just not a thing. Like,
he thinks he's worth 9 or 8, apparently.
No, he was. I heard seen 10. Anyways, either way, $9 million.
No, 9 and 10. Yes. Sorry.
He's not worth $9 million, right? Like, I love Gabe. I do. I think he's an amazing player. I love his toughness. I love his drive. Apparently, he's an amazing leader in the locker room. But he's a 50. He put up 44. I guess in kind of injury seasons. His most points ever was 75 3 years ago in 73 games. He put up 62 the year before in 78 games. So it's like you've never been that 80-point guy. You don't play full seasons. We haven't played a full season in years because you always have kind of something, right? Because he plays that system.
He's another guy though. Like he's first in the forecheck and he bumps guys. You know what I mean? He's in there. Yeah.
I said he's
another guy. That's when you're in the war all the time and he's in like the battle zones, right?
Yeah.
You're bound to get hurt. So
it's right?
another guy. Exactly.
Like I said he's got suspended too for weird bad hits and stuff like that. It happens, right? But it's like you're not that big. Like I said this year you put up almost a point a game. Also you played with Nathan McCann, you played with Mikko Rantanen. That's gonna help, right? Let's be honest. But it's like you put up good points. Don't get me wrong. I said I think he played really well, but it's like you're just a $9 million player is a younger player probably, and it's somebody like a McDavid, a Marner, a Matthews, a McKinnon, a Rantanen, and you're talking to these guys that really you're trying to game plan around. Where I don't think Gabe's that guy. I said I don't have a problem paying Gabe 7.5. I don't. I think he's worth $7.5 million all day long. Give him a 6-year, $7.5 million contract that gives them say $45 million. Good. If you want longer contract, good. I don't care. I'll give it to you. Whatever. I'm pretty good with it, right? But it's like I just don't see where the $9 million comes from. So because of all this, Colorado said, look, we can't come to an agreement. There might not be a chance that we come to an agreement. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave you exposed. And that leaves us to keep guys like Logan O'Connor, who I've mentioned before is great. They kept Tyson Yost. They kept all these guys. They did leave Comfer open, which I kind of thought was weird because I like Comfer. They left Jonas Donskoy open. So they kept kind of left some of their guys open and available. And Gabe was one of those guys. And I said, you can't blame Colorado. It's one of those things where if he doesn't want to sign, you can't roll the dice. So they said, look, we'll give you the chance. You can go to the expansion draft, and they have another week or something like that to get him signed. If not, then he goes to the free agent pool, and apparently they're not close. So hopefully calmer heads can prevail. I think he's got to understand, like, look, if you want to win a Stanley Cup here, if you really want to win in Colorado, you can't take $9 million a year. You can't make more than Mikko Rantanen. You can't. He's younger. He's better. It just is what it is. I understand he's your captain, but I don't know.
Now you know, buddy.
I know. It's just
you're really gonna know next year when McCarr comes up, buddy.
McCarr's this year, by the way. McCarr's got to get signed now.
Well, good luck with that, bro.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Like I said that Miro Heiskanen, that 8.5.
Cheers.
What's the other thing? What do you got? Is Gabriel Landeskog more valuable to your team than Cale McCarr? No, you got to sign Cale McCarr. Like, he's younger. He's 22 years old. Gabe is
your captain is available.
And don't get me wrong, Gabe's only 28 years old. He's still young. He's an amazing leader. Like I said, I love the guy, but you just got to think like four. If you want to win a championship, you just can't do it. So there's another one, Vladimir Tarasenko. He gets left unprotected, and they protect instead.
Tarasenko, my boy.
They left my boy, Ivan Barbashev, former Moncton Wildcat and current St. Louis Blue. They left him unprotected, which I hope that means that they're going to have more of a role for Barbashev last year. I know they put him up on like the top 2 lines in the playoffs. He played really well. I don't understand why they don't do that all the time. He's got some really good offensive upside. He's scored hat tricks in the NHL. He plays really well. He doesn't play well when he gets 10 minutes a night playing on the 4th line.
Another aggressive forechecker.
Love it. There's not much in this world, ladies and gentlemen, that I love more than a player that loves to hit and loves to forecheck.
Gets in there and gets the puck.
Oh, man. Barbashev, it was one of those things I've always said we're going to get Tarasenko second. And I've had Halifax fans that I've randomly met at the urinal one time in Halifax watching a game. And I was wearing a Barbashev jersey, and I said, like, look, and my thing's always been like, look, if you take the name off the back, if it doesn't say Barbashev and it said Smith, you think that kid's a Canadian.
Canadian.
And
yeah, correct.
That's what this old guy in the urinal in the bathroom one time goes, hey, you know what? Don't like the team, but I can respect that player. And because he was a Halifax fan, and he was like, yeah. And that's what he says. He goes, I always said if you took the nameplate off the back of that jersey, you'd swear he's a Canadian boy. And I went, yep, that's exactly. This is a guy I've never met in my life. He's just some random guy at the toilet. But anyways, no. So Tarasenko, so obviously had injury issues. He's obviously not playing to, what he's used to, right?
He literally just came back. Yeah,
he's coming back from big injuries.
I think a couple surgeries on his shoulder.
Yeah, so he played in 24 games this year, put up 14 points. The year before, he played in 10 games, put up 10 points. But so some big injury years. Before that, he's put up 68, 67, 66, 75, 74, 73. So he's a 70-point-a-year guy, putting up 30-plus goals every year, 37, 40, 39, 33, 33.
Another Russian that Trevor loved.
Exactly.
Still does.
He's only 29 years old, so he's still another young guy. He's the same as a lot of these guys, though, right? It's
and his contract, I think he makes 7.5, but he's only got it for this year and next, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
2 years.
So it's one of those things.
Bad.
Like if but it's still he's $7.5 million. So it's one of those things. It's 2 years left.
But St. Louis has got one of those weird teams where they've got a Thomas coming up, and Thomas is scoring a lot, like pretty good.
He's
Kyrou. Pushing to get in that top 6. Yeah, Kyrou come on this year hard because of injuries, because of. We just mentioned, guys missing time. So exactly.
And you got Ryan O'Reilly there. He's making.
And they got Braden Chen.
You got Braden Chen. You got obviously they had Vince Dunn. We'll get into that in a minute. They had Vince Dunn. They got Torrey Krug. They got they're paying all these guys.
Petatanko or Petatanko. You know what I'm talking about.
No, you think Pietrangelo.
No, 55. He was their assistant.
Parayko.
Yes, or Parayko. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, he was another one left unprotected. Once again, didn't make a whole lot of sense to us. Last but not least,
no,
this guy could have won the biggest award this year and could have been the MVP for the playoffs. And that is one Mr. Carrie Price. And what do the Montreal Canadiens decide they're going to do?
The gamble.
We're going to gamble. We're going to hope that with him having a couple little injuries, with his age, with his contract, because obviously we all know Carrie Price makes a crap ton of money. That
10.5.
What?
10.5.
Yeah, 10.5. So with all this stuff going on, $10.5 million a year. Look, at the end of the day, the guy's not gonna. We have a pretty good feeling that this guy is not gonna get taken by Seattle because of all that.
I wish I would have took him.
Yeah. So and the contract goes for another 5 years. So 10.5 for another 5 years for this guy that's already at this point.
He's 34, I believe.
33 years old. He'll be 34 later this year. He's the same age as you. So
87.
Which Carey Price has only made. What's his career earnings so far? He's only made a shit ton of money already, and we have not made that. So, so it's obviously one that had everyone talking to Montreal. I know Trevor, I made a comment on something. This is going to be good to see if they take him. I want to see what all these Montreal fans say that we're talking about. Let's trade Carey Price the last 3 years.
Can you imagine? You're going to the Stanley Cup with Jake Allen, Eric? You're not going to the Stanley Cup with Jake Allen.
No, you're not.
Like he's good. He's good, but he's not great.
He's not going to be Carey Price, right?
That's right. So he's not great.
No, and I think it made sense though. So that's the only reason why I say, because obviously the contract. What's Carey Price going to be like in 3 years or 2 years, right? What's going to be like going into that third season? Is he more banged up? Yeah. Is he older? Yeah. Is he as good as he is? Maybe not, right? Obviously, they're trying to split time with him to try to help with injuries and kind of keep him as fresh as possible. All good to see, right? But I think Bergevin was kind of honest with himself and said, look, at the end of the day, we probably shouldn't have made the Stanley Cup Finals. Just putting it out there. This team was not built to win
3-1 of the Leafs. My mother, quote unquote, says to me, my mother, it's never over until it's over, dear. I was like, Mom, let's be realistic. Montreal is not beating Toronto 3 games straight. What does Montreal do? Beat Toronto 3 games straight. I never in my life have been so fucking distraught over that. I don't even want to talk about it. Moving on.
Well, that's the thing, right? So I think
FML.
I think they're kind of honest with each other and themselves and said, look, we're not, like I said, this probably shouldn't have been where we ended up, which is the right way to look at it, right? It's the worst thing you can do in the world is to be like, we made the Stanley Cup Finals. We're so good. We don't need any more help. We're perfect. That's almost what Dallas did this last year, which was they didn't want to add anybody, right? They ran with the guys they had. They thought, well, let's catch lightning in a bottle again. This is the team we were supposed to be all year long, and it doesn't happen. That's the issue when you think like that, right? You always got to look to improve, unless you win it all. And even if you win it all, there's a chance that you could still use something, right? Like I think, just to go to basketball for a second, I think that the Milwaukee Bucks think that they have the team again next year to win it all. I think they're crazy. Because I think they got very lucky. They got a lot of injuries on the way, and they played a Suns team that collapsed in the finals, being down 2-0, and which is all good. I love Giannis. I think it's great what he did. But if you think as a Milwaukee Bucks fan that same team, if everybody's healthy, beats the Brooklyn Nets, beats the Lakers if they're healthy, beats anybody, some good teams out there, you're crazy to think that,
and
right?
You're gonna think I'm crazy, but I'm saying if the Raptors were healthy with Serge Ibaka, the same team they have right now, with Serge Ibaka, would have beat them, hands down.
Exactly. So it's one of those things. It's. I think Montreal is good with that. They said we'll risk it. Worst case, we lose Carey Price. Terrible, but I thought the contract. This is one of our last chances to maybe get rid of that contract without having a penalty or anything. And obviously, it was one of those things. It's kind of funny. Carey Price's wife actually put out the day before the draft that they were out at their house in BC, because that's where Carey Price is from.
Where he lives,
they're out at the house, the new construction house that they're building. BC is like a couple hours away from Seattle, ladies and gentlemen. Don't know if you know that. And that it's all
neighbors.
It's all looking good. It's all going to be great to finish it up and everything, man cave. And now we're going to go down to Washington to go visit some friends. And she puts that on Instagram the day before the Seattle draft. And when they know people are, players are probably going down to wear jerseys like they did. Anyways, just wild things. Next, and I don't have any things for this because like I said, I did all these graphics a couple days ago. So those are the unprotected. And then there was the draft. And before I get into all the actual talking about the draft itself,
okay,
the entire thing got leaked, ladies and gentlemen. So Seattle and the NHL spent hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It was ridiculous.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring in all kinds of celebrities. They brought in Macklemore. They brought in Marshawn Lynch. They brought in Sean Kemp. They brought in, just go through the list of all these big time, superstar athletes and celebrities.
Doing their best NFL impression, Eric?
Yeah, exactly. So they bring in all these big guys, which is great. It's what I want to see. I want to see that when it comes to all this. These kittens are going to do the death to me.
It's hilarious. I heard that one.
They're just going wild right now. But anyway, so they do all this stuff, and on top of all that, they had to submit the list 10 hours before the draft. Great, perfect, awesome. Frank Saravelli got a hold of the list. Frank Saravelli announced everything. Him, Pierre LeBrun had a couple, but mostly it's Frank Saravelli. Announced every single draft pick.
It was ridiculous.
8 hours before the draft. I didn't watch it.
I've never been so mad in my life.
I didn't watch the draft.
I've never been so mad in my life. Literally. When I text my boss and my phone goes off thinking I'm getting, because we don't have two-way radios, thinking I'm getting a text from one of my coworkers or whatever, and I glance over and it's Giordano was picked, Vladimir I can't say his name tonight. I'm sorry.
Which one?
Is it St. Louis? How they took Dunn?
Vince
who's
Dunn.
The other? Yes. So they took Vince Dunn and passed.
Yeah, they took Giordano. They took Vince Dunn. They took Giannis Donskoy.
Can we not say? I wanted to ask you this, so I'm going to ask you quickly. I know I'm getting a little off topic, but it's got to do with Seattle. I was so surprised that JVR didn't get There's a handful of forwards. You think one of them would have got taken? Not a chance.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind. They've got a lot of bottom six guys, third line and borderline and fucking and then they got a lot of fourth lining guys. So like, what the fuck? Anyways, I was very confused.
But yeah. So anyways, before we get into that stuff, so the whole thing gets totally lost. I know I went on Twitter and Instagram and everything, and was like tagging Frank, like NHL Network had like a come watch the expansion draft tonight on Sportsnet and blah blah blah, and I was like, why would I do that?
So disappointed.
Frank Sararelli already told us all the picks, and exactly. And it was one of those things. It was just, I understand that's your job, right? And I know his big thing is he's not with Sportsnet or anything, right? He's on his own now. He's on this hockey.com or something. I don't even know what the website was. So this is his like first big, like, holy crap, everyone, look at me. I'm a insider for hockey.
So he's not with TSN anymore.
No,
really?
So he left. He left on his own terms like a couple months ago, and went to this other company or whatever. Like I said, went to this website, whatever it is. And so like, I understand, like, this is probably like his big, like, hey, everyone can know my name. I didn't know what place he went to, so obviously it worked a little bit, right? He went to a company that nobody knew. He was hoping like, hey, this is going to be the thing that helps him and that gets him over to the the next line and maybe brings people over to his website or whatever. And it's like, if anything, all you did was make everyone hate you. Like I'm never going to follow that guy on Instagram. I'm never going to want to follow that guy on any social media because I think that guy's a douchebag now. Like I'm
super disappointed, man. And I hope Gary Bettman can find a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, like Gary Bettman said, like he's really disappointed. And he kind of saw all the stuff on social media that everyone's so like pissed off about it. That he goes, and like these things happen, which they do. Don't be wrong, they do. But you obviously had somebody that leaked it, and somebody should be fired from wherever it is. There's no reason why. It's one thing if you have the the list of, okay, look, I know a guy over at Detroit, and he told me that Stevie Y is, or that or I know somebody like Seattle, and he told me, like, in talking to Stevie Y, that they're definitely taking whoever, right?
One or two are fine, not a whole goddamn team.
Well, every time I looked, I was like, oh look, they're gonna take this guy, and I the first one was the Chris Driver one, which I thought, okay, well, it's because they're signing him, right? So he knows because they're signing him, that's how they know. And then it was like, oh, then they're going to sign this guy. They're going to sign Jamie Oleksiak. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then it's like, oh, they're not taking Gabe Landeskog because they're taking Jonas Donskoy. Oh, they're not taking Carey Price because they're taking Cale Fleury. Oh, they're not taking... I'm like, oh my God. So anyways, it's just one after another, after another, after another. And like I said, it's just for a night that cost the NHL so much money. So much money.
It was super disappointing.
Yeah, and that's the way to look at it. Like I said, you don't want to ever see that.
It's like you said, you didn't even watch it.
No.
So what's
and how many people didn't, right? So it cost these.
I didn't watch it.
It cost this team, And
we're diehards.
And we're diehards.
That's the thing. We're diehards.
But why would I watch? It's cool.
Like, I'm gonna watch the NBA. Like, I'm gonna watch the NBA draft. I'm gonna watch the NHL draft. That's what I do every fucking year.
Yeah.
I watch the NFL draft religiously. It's like a holiday for us. Like we look forward to these events. And I was looking forward to this because you don't know if there will be another expansion team, right?
Yep.
And it was like, honestly, I've never been I was pretty pissed off. I was really disappointed. Words cannot describe. Like I said, you leak one or two big, like,
whatever,
not even big names, just two names. I understand that. Publicity, the whole 9 yards. It's probably a good thing. Yep. But borderline after 3, man, there's something wrong.
Why are you going to tell us that, they're taking Jeremy Lozon or they're taking Will Borgen or they're taking, they're like, why are you telling us about these random guys that nobody's ever heard of?
Nobody wants to hear of.
Like the big names. Like you're just throwing out random names of who's getting taken. Like Columbus, they're going to take Gavin Baruther from Columbus. It's like, okay, why do you have to tell us that? Like, anyways, the big names that they took, Jeremy Lozon from Boston. He was one of the famous guys that was in that 3-player draft when they had 3 picks in a row for Boston. Chris Driedger of the Florida Panthers, they got him. That's their new starting goaltender. You're talking Joey Decord. He's another young goaltender for Ottawa that they ended up taking. Yanni Gourde, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. Yanni Gourde.
That was a good pick.
Jared McCann from the Toronto Maple Leafs legend. Morgan Geekie from the Carolina Hurricanes. Who's else? Jordan Eberle from the Islanders is probably one of the bigger names. Jordan, Eberle, He's going to go over there. He was one of the guys that wore the jersey last night for the announcement. Who else we got here? I'm just going through the list real quick. Brandon Tanev, he's another one. Vita Vanacek, there's another goaltender. He's 25 years old. Put up good numbers with Washington. We got Jonas Donskoy for Colorado. There's another one. Jamie Leskiak. We got from there, I'm just going through this. Cale Yarncroc from Nashville. So now Nashville's Cale Yarncroc, and they've lost Victor Arvidsson in one offseason. Not good. St. Louis, like I said, they lost 24-year-old Vince Dunn. You got Hayden Fleury with Cale Fleury, Mark Giordano, the longtime, obviously defenseman there for the Flames, Adam Larson for the Oilers. Who else is there on here? I'm just going through. Cole Lynn from Vancouver and Alexander True from San Jose. So it's a weird draft. I don't think I understand it quite that much.
I have no idea what they did.
Like, what do you?
I hate their team.
Like, why don't you take Vladimir? Like, what? Not to say you got to take a flyer on all these guys, right? Not to say you have to take a flyer on a Gabe Landeskog that maybe you can sign him, a Matt Duchene that maybe he turns around, maybe a Tarasenko that maybe can bounce back from injuries, maybe a Carrie Price that can still give you a lightning in a bottle for a couple of years. But you don't sign
Niederreiter. No Niederreiter.
Anybody.
Doesn't even make sense. Like, how do you not grab JVR? How do you not grab a couple of these guys, even just to sell tickets that are big names, like you just said?
The face of your franchise right now is Mark Giordano.
38-year-old. 37 years old.
Yeah. 37, 38-year-old Mark Giordano. That's the face of your franchise.
And he's still good. Don't get me wrong, people. I'm not putting him down that way.
Yeah, he just won a Norris 2 years ago.
He's no fucking Fleury. He's no, I don't know.
It's just, it's definitely an odd draft. I don't know what they did.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I love Vince Dunn.
Yeah.
I think he's 24 years old.
Yes.
He's restricted.
Yes.
Great player. Like, a lot of the guys a lot of the defensemen they took, I do like.
Yes.
But
I don't know.
I just don't understand. I'm so frustrated.
I don't know either.
I think they'll have one of the best third lines ever. Like that Appleton guy they got from Winnipeg.
Yeah.
What a beauty.
Mason Appleton.
Oh, yeah. Like, he might even play on the second line there because they're just not that good.
They are not that good. That's pretty much going to be it, for the episode. Like, we had the Colorado, and we talked about a lot of Colorado. Like I said, we talked about a lot of Toronto. I was going to have our own little spots at the end of it and kind of talk about what we thought about that, but we kind of covered that throughout the whole episode, right? We mentioned the whole Jared McCann thing with Trevor. I always try to give you guys an update on that.
So pissed off. I've never been so excited to trade for a player who never even got to play for us. Like,
probably legend, Jerry McCann.
Honestly, in my opinion, I want to get it out there, though. I'll say it right now. Better than Kerfoot. Offensively and defensively.
And that's why they took him, by the way. The problem with Tyler...
he probably would have played in our top 6.
The problem with Alexander Kerfoot is that he is good for one game, and then he's missing, and you don't even notice him on the ice for the next 3. That is the Alexander Kerfoot issue. I watched him for 2 or 3 years in Colorado. That is... He'd score 3 points. You're like, holy crap, he's coming around. He looked so good out there. And then you just wouldn't notice him for another 3 games. Is he in the lineup? Oh, yeah, there he is. He's playing. He played 17 minutes tonight. Oh, perfect. Great. Didn't notice. Yeah, so it is what it is. NHL draft is tonight when you guys are listening to this. Obviously, it's tomorrow night, but when you guys are listening to this and watching this on YouTube.
You got me. I'm like, no, it's not. Why didn't I take that? Yeah. Why am I not watching right now?
So
you're fucking with my head. I like it.
You get some guys, obviously some Owen Power. Obviously, they're talking about him going first overall. It goes Buffalo, then it goes the Kraken, then it goes Anaheim. So there's gonna be some.
Don't ask me who the 4th is.
Apparently, from 2 to 6, apparently it's like the same player. But apparently Owen Power is the number 1 guy. To be honest, once again, me and Trevor usually do this religiously. I know. Years ago, me and him is the Tyson Yost year, the year that he got drafted, and we dove into a bunch of players and really went into way before the podcast, way before we had anything to do like this. We just loved it, so I looked into it. So I already knew that they really liked Tyson Yost because he was a very much Jonathan Taves type player. Everything else comes out of the BCHL.
Good leadership, yeah.
Good leadership, just a good solid two-way player. Blah 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 blah. Right. So anyone that's a good solid two-way player that's a captain on his team automatically gets linked to Jonathan Toews if he's Canadian, right? It happens every time, especially if he's a little undersized, right? He's 6 foot tall. He's like, oh yeah, Jonathan Toews. That's who that guy is. He's a first-round pick. He's got to be Jonathan Toews.
Who I'm looking forward to seeing play this year.
I am too.
Jonathan Toews.
Thank you for coming back, Jonathan Toews. Thanks for taking your year off. But yeah, so it's all this stuff. Like I said, I'm excited to see what happens. There is a chance with Colorado drafts that another former Moncton Wildcat, which I'd love to see. I wanted to see this boy behind us. So Ivan Barbashev, when his draft year, me and Trevor watched that draft. We took not Ivan Barbashev.
Both their teams passed him that year,
and he was the number 1 two-way forward in the entire draft. Colorado's picking number 20, 21. Nope, don't take him. Take I've erased his name from my memory. He played for the Calgary Hitmen. I don't
know if I know that one.
He's a captain. Anyways, they were like made a big deal because he was the captain there at 18 years old or 17 years old. Anyways, I've completely blanked his name from my memory banks, and I'm so glad I did. But anyways, so it's one of those things. Another player though that's played for the Colorado Avalanche is Zachary Leroux, which he fell down the draft rankings big time. Essentially, he got traded from Moncton, who probably would have been close to winning a Memorial Cup last year before all the craziness in the world happened. And Zachary Leroux got traded over to Halifax. And Halifax played two teams all year long, essentially. They played Charlottetown, which was really good, and they played Cape Breton. And it's a hard thing to showcase your talents when Cape Breton or Charlottetown's way better than both your teams. Connor Bleakley was the guy. That's who it was. That was the guy that we drafted instead of Ivan Barbashev, and I wanted to cry. Anyways, but Zachary Leroux, he dropped. He had some incidents. He spit on a guy, got suspended. Shouldn't spit on a guy, apparently. He's also does play that big, rough two-way game. So he'll go in the forward check. He has no problem dropping the gloves.
One of the best Q fights I've ever seen in my life.
God.
In his rookie year.
Him and another guy drop it. This is the end of the season, and they just start chalking. Just straight right.
Bombs.
Both of them. Like, it was just
bombs.
So good. One of my favorite fights. It was just so good.
Oh, man.
And they just stood there for like 45 seconds just chucking. Anyways, awesome. But a really good
priceless
player, really smart. A lot of people thought that maybe it was because he played on like the top line or top two lines. So obviously he's surrounded by a guy like Jacob Pelletier, who was a first-round draft pick over by the Calgary Flames. Alexander Hrivanov. You get Mika Sear. You get all these guys that were putting up crazy points. Jeremy McKenna. All these guys putting up crazy points over there in the queue. And obviously he's benefiting from that. He was a 3rd overall pick in the queue that year for Moncton. Anyways, didn't work out that way for us, unfortunately. Trade him. His draft stock has plummeted, apparently. And it's hard. This is such a weird year. Half these guys didn't play. Half these guys played weird schedules. Half them barely played at all if they did play. Like, it's just such a really weird year to try to figure out who's good.
Judge, and
like I said, how do you
I'd take a flyer, though, man. I'd throw a pick at him, especially because you've seen him play this year. And
well, for us, it'll be a late round pick.
We're the Ontario. What is it? I don't think that WHL played either, I'm positive they didn't.
Both of them played little.
OHL and WHL?
Right? WHL played because they had that young kid that put a bunch of points, right?
So, yeah, but the OHL didn't play at all, right? Correct?
OHL may have played a little bit, but not much.
I think they did. I can't remember.
Anyways, doesn't matter. But either way, it was like such a small sample size, even for like the Q. Once again, I have season tickets. I just literally renewed my season tickets for the Moncton Wildcats the other day. They played the same two teams over and over again. They played Bathurst and St. John over and over again.
Pretty much. I'm not kidding. And MTEI once in a while.
Yeah. Like they didn't play anybody, right? So I'm like, okay, well, if you're not going to play anybody, it is what it is. So but how do you also judge those kids that just had to play the same teams all over again? Like, and how, for scouts, how are the scouts going to get there scouts can't travel to judge them in person like you usually would. So it's just a weird
right there in that town. So
yeah, it's just a really weird season. So I said it'll be interesting to see. I'll definitely be watching the NHL draft. Trevor will be watching the NHL draft. Obviously we're gonna have the NBA draft coming up soon. Raptors got a top 4 pick.
Oh, Raps! So pumped.
It's gonna be so good. NFL season is now 50 some days away.
50. Actually, 50.
So excited.
Or might be 49. And 50 could have been yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm super pumped for that. Training camps around the corner. They're doing all this stuff. I'm pumped. There's not much in this world.
Should be, bro.
I love hockey, as even you see behind me. I love hockey. I love junior hockey. Junior hockey, right there. Moncton Wildcats. I love them. I love my Chargers. Phillip Rivers. I love Nathan McCann. So I love my hockey and I love my football. It's an exciting time for us. You know, obviously it's the off season though, so it's a little bit slower to talk about. We will talk about stuff when we get a chance. You know, we could have brought this into a little bit of NFL talk. Maybe we could talk about Aaron Rodgers and maybe we could talk about this and that. You know, Cam Akers tearing his ACL, which sucks so bad. I feel so bad for that kid. But Cam Akers tearing, you know, we could have went into all this stuff, what it means for the Rams and everything. But we didn't. Okay, we're gonna try. We just tried to keep this one to an NHL podcast. Well, the next episode we'll probably do mixtures back to normal. Like I said, we just had a lot to talk about with signings, with trades, with the expansion draft, with guys being left unprotected, all this stuff, buyouts, everything else. I just thought if we try to put too much into it, it'd run even longer than it is because we're already at a minute or an hour and 20 minutes. That's how this happens, ladies and gentlemen. We always run longer than we expect. So I'm gonna let Trevor get to sleep though because he has to go to bed. Because he works early in the morning.
Trevor looks like shit already, boy.
It's at 10:40 at night.
Friday!
So it's Friday. Everyone loves Friday. So anyways, thank you guys for listening. If you haven't yet, if you're watching us on YouTube, go check out the podcast. You can subscribe still on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, all the other stuff, if it's easier for you to listen. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on all this stuff. Like I said, I'll try to talk as much as possible when I see that kind of stuff. And anyways, we'll just leave it at that. So for Eric,
right,
and for Trevor, this is going to be signing off.
Keep your stick on your ice, people.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.